What we need to do now is add some pagination, because if we have too many users, we need to be able to go to the next and previous page. Same thing with categories and our posts. So we need those buttons down here. Now, pagination is relatively simple in Laravel, as we saw in an earlier video. So here, if you go to the documentation and you look at the database pagination, you see that the information is right here. Let's see, paginating eloquent. So all you have to do is add paginate at the end, and you specify the number of items per page. However, the problem is this only works with a model, because the model returns an instance of itself. That way you can actually add more functions to it like this. This chaining can only happen if it returns a class. In our situation, we are not using a class, because if I go to my thing here, it isn't functioning properly. So let me close it and open it one more time. Take a second. Okay, there we go. So the problem we have is that if I go to my admin controller, let me go down to the default of posts, which is right here. You see that I'm using actual queries here. So there's a query here, and I'm using db select and then adding a query. Now this returns an array and not a class, so I can't add more classes to this. I can't do the chaining here, so it seems we are doomed. Now the problem is this kind of query would be difficult to do with a query builder. It would be very complex, so I'd rather leave it like this. So instead, what we do is let's create our own pagination. So if you want to use the model, the video is already there. One of the previous videos we did that, we did cover that. So let's try and do it the manual way. So before we can do the technical stuff, I want us to design our buttons down here. So go to your resources, views, and admin, post.blade.php. And let's see if we can add some buttons down here, just after the table right here. So what I want to do is just say button, and I'm going to call this one, let's call it first page. This one is the first page. Let me do this, and I will call this one actually, nope, let's use next. I don't want to have to deal with first and last pages. So I'm going to add an I tag so that I can add font awesome. Since font awesome is here, I'll do FA to add an icon, and this icon is an arrow pointing to the right. So that one is called a chevron right, like so. And that should do it. So first page, next page. And then I want one more page here, just like it's number 1 or something. That's the first page. Let's put number 2 here and number 3. Now let me add classes to all of these guys. So I'll just say class button like that. That should do it. Okay. And now on the selected page, like this one, it's going to be button primary. Like so. So let me save that and let's see how it looks like. So right here, I will refresh my page, go down, and you see the kind of thing we have. So first page, that's where we are. Then this should be 2, and there should be next over here. Okay, pretty cool. So that way, if I want the second one to be active, I'll just move this class right here and refresh. And there we go. So you see first page, 2, 3, 4, etc. Let's put this inside a div so that we can control a little bit of the padding. Let me move here. Okay, so let's do a style and just say padding on all fronts should be 10 pixels. Let's see this. Okay, much better, so that it's somewhere in the middle. Okay, so this is the kind of pagination, sorry, that we're going to have. On top of that, I want, actually this is it for the buttons. So let's add the technical part of it. So how exactly does pagination work? If I go to the admin controller here, let's look at our query here. So we paginate using the query. So here, as you can see, there is no limit to the amount of posts we will get from here. It just ends with select from posts and joins the two. So it selects everything in that table, but we want to limit what we are getting. So in order to limit the amount of results, we're just going to add a text code, just the word limit at the end, and give a number. So I'm going to limit it to 1 for now, so that when I refresh, you see that I only get 1 result. Okay, so 1 result there, that means that's the limit. But if I add an offset, at the end I say offset 1 like this. Okay, that means I'm telling it to offset or skip the first result and start with the second, but only retrieve 1 item. So if we come back and I do this, you see that we are on the second item over here. And then if I keep doing this and let's say offset 2 like that, the limit remains like that, then I'm on page 3 like this. So this is how you move between pages. So if let's say my limit is 4, it's a good idea that my offset moves in sets of 4. That way I move from page to page. So the first offset will be 0, that's page 1. The second offset will be 4, that's page 2, because I'm skipping the first 4 and going to the remaining ones and still retrieving 4 items. And the next one will be 8, like that. That way I'm skipping the first page, the second, so this is the third page. I hope that is clear. Now, instead of having to do this math, there's a very simple formula we can use. So out here, I just need to add a variable instead of this. So I'll move this to a variable called limit and create another variable called offset. So let me come up here and I will need to create these variables. So I'll ask myself how many items I need per page. Now in this case, I just need 1 item because I only have 3 items. I want us to have 3 pages. So 1 item. Then I will need an offset. Yes. So how do I design an offset? There's a simple formula. Now this formula requires me to know the current page. So here I'm just going to say page is equal to, and we're going to imagine the page number is 1. So here the formula is simple. It is page minus 1 multiplied by the limit, like so. So this will give me the offset that I need, and the limit I already know, and the page number is like that. So let me show you that this actually works. So here, if I come back to this and refresh, you see that I'm on page 1. This is item number 1. If I go to page 2 like this, it should change what I get. So you see, that's page 2. If I write 3, that's on page 3, refresh, and there you go, we're on page 3. So all I need is to find a way to change this value whenever the page changes in the URL. So refresh, we're on page 1 like that. That is all good. So the way this works is that, let's say we're on page 1, right? It will do 1 minus 1, which is 0, and any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So the offset will be 0, and that will be page 1. Now if I'm on page 2, this will be 2 minus 1, that will equal 1, and then that will be 1 times 1, which will be offset 1. Now these ones are not very good candidates. Let's say if I had a limit of 10, so 10 items per page, right? So, and here we are on page 2. So the offset should be something like 20. So 10, or should it be? Yeah, the limit is 10, the page is 2. So what will happen here is it will be 10 minus 1, which is 9. Wait, that's page 2, right? Limit 10. Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm doing the wrong calculation. So it will be 2 minus 1, which is 1, and then 1 times 10, which is 10. So the offset will be 10 on page 2. On page 1, the offset is 0. On page 2, it's 1 multiple of the limit. So for now, let's keep it at limit 1, like so, and page 1. Very good. So now all we need to do is create a class that will handle the rest. So I want a class that once I give it these values here, it will tell me what's going on. Now, before we even do that, there's a simple way to figure out the page number. So for now, let me just do an echo like this, and I just want to see there's the request here that we have from the very top there, and if you do URL, it gives you the URL of that current page. So let me just do die here so that we can see what's going on. Or maybe I should have put brackets there, is it? Like so, yes. Okay, so as you can see here in the URL, it gives me the URL there. Now I want us to add page like this. Page is equal to, let's say 2, like so. Now if I do that, you see that it doesn't show me the page as well. So unless I do foo URL like this, and then it will show me the query string as well, so I can know that this is page 2. Okay, so we will use this to create the links to the next page and the previous page. But for the sake of knowing the page number, it's an easier process. All we have to do is get the same get variable. So we're just going to say is set, like so, and we're going to use the request here. Wait a minute, let me undo this. Let's say request input page, like so. So page value is 2, like that, okay? Because we are getting from in there. Now, if I remove this, what do we get? We get nothing, okay? So, which is very, very useful. So what we will do now is get this, like so, cut it out, and let's do that. So all I need to do, instead of setting it to page 1, I'm just going to say if this, like so. If that is valid, then I'll put a question mark and say if it is valid, then set it to the same item. If not, full colon, set it to 1, like so. Okay. Now this has to be parsed as an integer. So I'm just going to say int here, like this. Okay, like that. So the page number will be whatever number is in the top there. So just by doing that, we've sorted out a problem here. So if I now refresh, okay. So if I now refresh, we are on page 1. But let me add page on the end here. Page is equal to 2. you see that we go to page 2, just like that. And if I add 3 in the URL, we go to page 3. So the thing is, we just need to make sure that these buttons here will lead us to the correct link with page is equal to the correct number that is here. Okay, okie dokie. So in the next video, let's create an actual class that will handle the creation of these links, because we don't want to fill up this space with too much code in here. We want to shift all that to an actual class. Let's delete these guys. Actually, I don't need this anymore, like so. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.